Start on a sad note. Our dear friend, a friend to this show, to Straight Talk Africa and all the other shows here at the Voice of America, Dr. Sulayman Nyang, passed away yesterday, and we'd like to pay a special tribute to him, and our deepest condolences go to his family. Shaka, the passing of Dr. Sulayman Nyang, this is a guy, a remarkable guy who has been on your show several times, not only on your show, but he has been like an in-house analyst for the Voice of America. Your thoughts?
First of all, to be honest with you, Paul, I don't think I can frankly find the right words with which to express myself about the late Dr. Sulayman Nyang. Sulayman was a colleague. He was my big brother. He was my intellectual brother. He was a teacher. He was a role model. He was a fiercely Pan-Africanist. He was a man that who had hopes that someday, at least in his life, he would see Africa develop into a major power, into a continent that he would feel very, very, very proud about. It's very unfortunate that he has passed away before realizing that. He's not only someone that contributed to Straight Talk Africa, but I have to say among the top three that I can actually put my fingers on, he was one of those people that remarkably contributed and supported Straight Talk Africa. I can put him in the same company as Emila Woods, and last but not least, Professor George Aite. Professor George Aite. These were three building blocks, three key people that have contributed enormously to the development and the success of Straight Talk Africa since its inception. We're talking about a program that began on August the 2nd, the year 2000. Without these people, Straight Talk Africa probably wouldn't still be on air. We had so many opportunities and sometimes, in fact, exchanged some social amenities, as you know. He sometimes invited us, along with our other friends, including, of course, someone that I refer to as my brother from another mother, Paul Cisco. We would go to Silver Springs, where he had a seat at the diner. He liked the diner. And remember, he took us for lunch or dinner at the Cuban restaurant, where I like to eat the Cuban beans. And I can also remember that I, together with one of my former bosses, both at UCLA when he was editor of the Makasagabe Papers Project, and then here at the Voice of America, Dr. Gregory Alonzo Pirio, popularly known as Greg. I call him the kid from Fontana, California. He calls me in turn the kid from Cavalry. We would invite Sulayman and actually go to Arlington, near where I live, and we would go to what used to be a Brazilian restaurant, and now it is a laundromat.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate. We would go there and we'd eat this Brazilian meat and you name it and stuff like that, and talk about Africa and talk about the world. This guy was remarkably intelligent. He was a guy that I would refer to as a mobile archives, really, or a walking database for that matter. But above and beyond, he exuded humility. He was down to earth. And mind you, this is a guy who came from the Gambia. But to be very honest with you, his country, if there was such a country, it was Africa.
A former diplomat as well. He also served as a diplomat before getting into really academia.
That is true. And he lived in the United States for very, very many years, several decades.
You know what is remarkable? I did a profile of him in maybe about 7 years ago, and he told me how he arrived here in the United States He came in 1962.
62.
That's when he first arrived here.
That is very
Went through the
interesting.
school system, and he started, I remember him talking about how he started teaching at Howard University in 1972.
1972.
Absolutely.
That is
he was
when-
one of the lucky few people who came, I think, during that time when I think it was Kennedy who had opened up America for Africans, giving scholarship, like Obama's father coming through the same thing. So he was one of those lucky few students who came from Africa and benefited from the gifts that America has given so many of us.
Very interesting. When you talk about 1972,
Yes.
I am looking at a young, dashing paratroop lieutenant. That was Mike Ssali, when I still had my slave name, Mike, before transforming into Shaka Ssali.
In terms of legacy, when you look at his contributions to Africa, his contribution in terms of writing, African literature, African politics, African religion, in terms of Islam and whatever, he made enormous contributions in that field. In terms of legacy, what would you say his legacy has been?
I think that there is no question that he would be remembered as one of those people, like I said, who was fiercely Pan-Africanist. He was a bridge builder. He was a uniter. He was not a guy that would be supporting, for example, the United States President's project. I'm talking about the war that obviously President Donald Trump would like to build south of the United States, preventing people from Latin America and what have you coming to the United States. He was not that kind of person. He was a person who wished everybody well. He was a person that was very easily accessible. He was a person who always looked at you and looked for something good in you so that he can praise it. Just like, of course, the award-winning author, Alex Haley.
One of his favorite.
The author of Roots, of course. The author of Malcolm X, who said, find something good in someone and praise it. That was the type of person Sulayman Nyang was.
You know, speaking of the Roots, one of the gifts that he gave me when I first met him and started interacting with him was that book authored by Alex Haley, The Roots.
Really?
Absolutely.
And you know, of course,
Yes.
it triggered, a series of television, documentaries and all kind of stuff, programs and whatever, which were also equally award-winning. And I should also note, by the way, that, again, Sulayman Nyang will probably be remembered for participating in a major Straight Talk Africa edition, which was in 2001, when a Ugandan major opposition figure, Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye, retired, but certainly not tired, in Studio 18 at the time, and along with, of course, the then Ugandan ambassador, Edith Bafakurera Sempara, plenipotentiary extraordinary. Here we were in Studio 18, talking about, analyzing about Yoweri Museveni, the Ugandan president at the time, and talking about how it was incredible for Besigye to have been able to escape from Uganda and end up in the United States, in Washington. So anybody writing a book about such an incredible, historic Straight Talk Africa edition will always, of course, look at Sulayman Nyang as one of the key participants in that program.
Before we move on to the other topic, what would you like your fans, especially people who watch Straight Talk every Wednesday, how would you like your fans to remember Dr. Sulayman Nyang?
I think that if I had a way of putting it, I would say that my fans should look at an individual who always wanted and always was able to, at least in my view, was willing and able to offer his best. He was, mind you, the person that believed in being the best that he could be. And there's no doubt in my mind that intellectually he was able to meet that type of threshold.
To be honest with you, I can testify that I learned a lot from just interacting with him, getting to know him on a very personal level.
I did too. Like I said earlier, among other things, frankly, he was my teacher. He was, in a way, somebody that inspired me. And frankly, he taught me how to be simple, firm but simple, and to exude humility, and to be a bridge builder, not a wall builder.